Buenas noches, ¿cómo están? Sábados 13 de junio, 7 p.m. por la noche en estas noches de cuarentena, ochentena, como gusten llamarlas. El día de hoy estaremos conversando con Marty Scott de Liverpool Legends. Fundador de esta banda, Tributo. Hey, my friend.
Hey,
How's it
how's it
going?
going?
Pretty
It's
good.
going. It's going, man. Good
How
to
is
see
this?
you.
How is this situation treating you guys?
Well, I mean, I'm okay so far. It's been a little strange, you
Enjoying
know.
the free time?
I mean, we've never had so much time off, you know. So I was trying to think of since we started the group, if I ever was home. Hardly, you know,
Those
and
you
I
guys
haven't.
never stop.
Yeah, yeah. So in some ways, it's been uh, okay. We've been having a chance to ground ourselves a little bit and
Uh-huh.
write some songs, and we're recording and stuff, but sure miss playing. It's been weird not playing for sure.
Yeah. So
You
yeah,
know.
you mentioned you guys are now working on new material, which is kind of a cool, like, thing that you guys are also doing your own material.
Yeah, we like writing songs and stuff, which is
Uh-huh.
odd for a tribute group,
Uh-huh.
but we always kind of felt like as the Beatles were sort of the greatest songwriters ever, right?
Uh-huh. So you
So
can't
if
you can't
you
compete.
No, it's not that. It's just that if the truest tribute to them would be like write your own song.
Inspirations.
No, we always said like if like people have asked like, well, if John and George, if they were up there looking down at you guys, what do they think? They'd probably go like, oh, why don't you write your own songs? So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we've
yeah.
been doing a little bit of that, trying to because we never have time to when we're out, touring.
Touring.
So yeah, yeah.
For those that don't know much about your when you guys started, give us a little history on what the formation was and how the band started. What was the inspiration behind it? And prior to that, also, what was your background to music?
Uh, well, those are two pretty big different questions. But
We have all the
uh,
time.
I mean, mostly we started because we were just big Beatle fans, and we have done
Cheers.
me and
Cheers.
oh yeah, hey,
Yeah.
cheers, 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 cheers. Oh hey, where'd you get that? That's awesome. Better than mine. Mm. Yeah, but I do have George like back here somewhere, right? You can
There you go.
he's back there somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Um, but so we started because we were fans and
Hmm.
we were musicians. So we we played pretty much every kind of music in the world. Me and the guy who plays John Lennon, Kevin,
Uh-huh.
been playing together since we were kids. And
Okay.
he was always a huge Beatle fan. He kind of pushed them on me. Like, hey, I was listening to like Led Zeppelin or something. He was like, no, listen to the Beatles.
Go
So
back. Go back.
yeah, yeah. So that's how it kind of happened. And then one day we realized that we were kind of good at, we could do it. Like we're not
Hmm.
like, we can't do everything. We can't do every kind of music, but when we sing Beatles songs, we could
What
kind
year
of
is
do
this?
it. I mean, we were kids, so we go back a long way. So
Okay.
many, many, many moons ago. It's pretty much our whole lives. We've been playing a lot of these songs. And we didn't back then though, we didn't know that you could actually uh, be a Beatle. We
Uh-huh.
just we like playing songs. So uh, that's how it started. Just mainly he was always pushing the Beatles on me. And
And funny because how all these, I mean, the Beatles, these guys were young when they started. They were like 20 some. They were like 14, 15 at the most when they
yeah,
first got together.
yeah. And in some sense, I started playing with Kevin when I was 16. So
Wow.
it's a little, not that it's similar, but that's when we started and we played all kinds of cover tunes and we played every kind of band you could imagine.
Uh-huh.
And uh, and then the Beatles just made sense because uh, we could always do those songs. And even when we weren't like dressed up and when we weren't like doing a show, we always And weirdly enough, if there was a song and it was a George song, I would probably sing it. Even when I was playing, I was a drummer, is how I started. And he always, before he ever like put a suit on and was like, I'm going to impersonate John Lennon, he would kind of always sing all the John Lennon songs. So, and he always was in that spot. So it just evolved from that sort of like we just kind of fell into it. We realized that we can do it well, and here we are. We've done it. It's taken us a lot of places.
And then what year did you guys started as a tribute band? Formally?
2005.
15 years.
When we started. Yeah. So it's been and man, we started playing little clubs, and we were playing the smallest.
By the way, I'm wearing my cavern cap.
Hey, cool. Cool.
I thought I'm gonna try to be.
That's awesome. It's funny because I was gonna wear my Taco Palenque shirt. No, I do have to say that every time we come to your neck of the woods, that's one of the things I miss since I've been home is eating out. That's probably like, and man, I would love some of that guacamole right now from Taco Palenque.
Do you cook at home? Are you a big cook?
Yeah, I have been more now than ever because we're all sort of like, I'm baking my own damn bread now. It's just like, I've kind of like leaned into like the zombie apocalypse, trying to figure out how to.
Yeah, it could be a new line of merch on the show.
No, I'm like I'm gardening, and I'm baking bread and crazy crap like that. But so it's been
awesome.
A bit of a learning experience, and it's really cool when your house smells like bread.
I know that smell of bread.
Even if you don't eat it.
Yeah. The shell that spray, the bed spray.
Yeah.
Smell.
Bread spray. That's a good
pound cake or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm eating a lot, so sitting around, getting fat.
Well,
gotta be. It's funny because we feel that this whole thing sort of has a life, and there's going to be a time to go back and start performing. So trying to be careful what we eat.
Of course, yeah.
And not gain at some point I'm going to have to fit into my Sgt. Pepper suit again.
You want to send those suits back to the tailor to get them readjusted.
No, I know. Let's face it, to do it, unfortunately the Beatles were really skinny guys. So to do it, you kind of have to. So I've been kind of getting addicted to chocolate and probably drinking a little too much. Like 5 o'clock somewhere has sort of become like 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock somewhere, sort of, which is like, cheers, anyone who's watching.
Yes,
but so, I don't know, trying to figure it out. I want that mug. I've never seen that. That's cool. Yeah.
It's the Beatles. I have the set of 4, but I got this one just for you. I never use it. I actually I just have them there, but I said, well, this is the time to use it.
You should send it to me. I'll take it.
Tell us about the once you guys.
Muddy Will. Oh, it's funny. You can see who. This is my first. I've never done an Instagram live.
Well, I started doing this
Hi, Kimmy.
because of
Kimmy
just
right
being at home Saturday night. So I started asking friends of mine that are in the business or they're musicians and stuff like that, and just trying to get something going on. Have some free time or stuff to.
We all have some free time now, I think.
Be entertaining at some point.
Yeah. All right. So have you had anybody good on? I mean, besides me, because
Well, this is my 7th interview, and I have like 4 more lined up.
Yeah.
The last
are most of them in English, or are they in Spanish?
This is the first one in English.
Oh, hey, that's right. I'm breaking. I'm a trailblazer.
There you go.
Yeah.
They were all in Spanish. I interviewed the last one. It was a really cool experience. This is the band El3, which is a legendary band from Mexico, a rock band. The singer, they've been playing for 50 years.
50 years.
They're as legendary. They're like this. They open for the Stones. They're actually kind of close with Ron Wood and Keith, the singer. He's in that new documentary, Ole Ole.
My dream is to get close with the Stones. Like Keith Richards, like I'm a Beatle fan, but I'm such a huge Stones fan. Like there's not a day goes by that I don't kind of think about Keith. Like he's so cool to me. So someday when I get older, I'm probably gonna play Keith. Because
a side tribute band.
No, I mean him and George had a little bit of common ground, especially in the early days. And so as I get older and I start getting like deeper veins in my eyes and do more drugs and stuff, I'll fit more into the Keith role.
The finger's gonna get more arthritic.
It'll be
Arthritis.
easier for me to do Keith than do George, right? Yeah, I don't know.
So the band starts, and then you guys get started. Is this just through Louise, or is this, or just started and then Louise
So,
joined in? Tell
you
about the
know,
story about Louise Harrison.
Kevin and I have been playing together. This is the guy that plays John.
Uh-huh.
And pretty soon, like we started, we were playing in this, like a local group from Chicago, a local band. And George Harrison just had passed away.
Uh-huh.
And we were playing at like a Beatles festival sort of thing in Chicago. It was like a 3-day event. And Louise, George's sister, they brought her in as sort of like the guest of honor or something.
Uh-huh.
And it was maybe 2 months after George passed away. Wow. So, when I found out, when I'm singing the George song, so I heard she was going to be there, and I'm kind of freaking out, obviously.
Of course.
And because I had heard, she was pretty tough and whatever, and so it was like a 3-day weekend where we were all staying in the same place, performing in this like big ballroom of this hotel, doing shows, and I'm singing George, and I'm thinking like, gosh, I know that she's out there somewhere, and I hope I don't suck, That's all I really thought. Like, yeah. No, I'm just like, I hope, and after the first night of shows, we were like hanging out. We go and everybody. It was weird because all these Beatle fans were staying at this hotel where everything was, and so there's like Beatle karaoke going on after the show, or there's like all kinds of stuff. There's Beatle vendors and things. Uh-huh. And so I walked in after the show thinking like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then I walked right into the promoter, and he said, hey, Marty, Mrs. Harrison is here, and she'd like to speak with you. And I'm like, oh, shit. I was just like, and, but, because I had heard she was kind of tough, and she is tough. But we just like, we hit it off in like such a crazy way that like we ended up spending the whole weekend together.
Hanging out.
And it was really, I had just sort of started doing the Beatle thing for as a gig, so it was such a random thing, and we ended up like that whole weekend sort of hanging out and staying up all night and drinking wine, and she told me a lot of stories, and it was just sort of surreal. And and as just really randomly, Paul McCartney was going to be I was living in Chicago at the time, so randomly Paul was going to be in Chicago that next weekend, and I was going to the show. And so I asked her, I was kind of joking about the whole thing. I'm like, hey, are you going to go see Paul next weekend? Because I'm going. And she's like, oh, well, his manager called me up, and, sometimes I go when he's around, and I was thinking about it, but I don't know. I live pretty far away. And I'm just like, well, hey, I'm your brother. I'm your brother, right? You could stay at my house. I was absolutely kidding. Kate, hi, Kate, I miss you, Kate. Damn it. So anyway, I ended up just jokingly, we were like on our way to a television interview or something. I'm just like, hey, well, you could stay at my house. And the last night of the festival, like Sunday night, she was like,
by the lobby.
No. She was like, we're getting ready to leave, and she's like, hey, that what you said about me staying at your house, I think I might do that, and I'm just like, what? I'm thinking about what do I have at my house that's, like I'm not ready for this, And so she ended up coming to my house, staying that whole week. This is like I just met her. So I was still like,
you just met her, and she's like,
yeah. So and it's and it's George's sister. It was like freaking freaky. And then literally like we hung out. I was doing like solo gigs besides doing Beatles stuff at the time. I was playing like college bars, playing like Gin Blossom songs or whatever,
Yeah.
just or any. And I'm thinking like, man, what am I going to do with her all week? Well, I'm
Drink.
playing till 3 in the morning tomorrow or whatever. And it's like a Tuesday night. She came with, and the whole time I'm worried about her. And then I'm playing till 2 in the morning on a Tuesday, bunch of college kids. And then she comes up to me. The whole time I'm worried. And after the show, she comes up to me and she's like, "Are we going home now? Because we got invited to an after party, and I'd like to go." And I was just
Oh,
like,
wow.
okay. So
Go get her.
yeah. So it started there actually, and it turned out to be such a nice surprise that she was like that. And then a day later, she's at my house, and I hear her on the phone talking to Paul's manager, going like, "Yeah, I think I'd like to come to the show."
Bring my friend along.
Yeah, no, I already had tickets, but she's like, "If you don't mind, I'll have the young gentleman with me." And I'm just like, yes,
There you go.
So honestly, like that was all in the same week that I met her. And then that next weekend, I'm like sitting on a couch between her and Paul, like just like this, like just like going like, man,
The
this
real
is
moment.
completely bizarre. And everybody in my band hated me from the rest of that time on.
Of course.
Because it was just like, it never, honestly, it kind of severed some of those ties because it was I had just sort of started, and I'm sitting on a couch with Paul and just talking like this. So that's how the whole thing started with Louise, and then we became really good friends. We hung out that week, and then like a month later, she was like, "Why don't you come?" She was living in Southern Illinois, so like a week later, I ended up like going to her house or something, and it was about a 5-hour drive from
Let
where
me
I
just
was
go back
living.
for how was meeting with Paul McCartney? How was it? The whole situation. I mean, I'm sure there's like a lot of people there. I mean, typical
There wasn't. It was like
intimate.
me and Paul and Louise, and then for part of the time, Heather, the girl he was engaged to at the time,
That
Heather, he
time.
married her or whatever. But so it was not a lot of people. It was in his dressing room for 45 minutes. And
Wow.
so George had just died. So on any other, I've met Paul since then. Like she took me a couple more times when he would be playing
Uh-huh.
somewhere. Like we saw him in San Diego and a couple other places. But that particular time, George had just died. So he was he basically canceled everybody else he was supposed to
Oh,
see. And
okay.
just, it was really cool. I'll respect Paul forever just for that alone as a person, because he just, there was other people out. There was like a green room where people were waiting to see him, and then we're in his dressing room, which was crazy. And he just kept, his manager or whoever was in charge kept coming in going like, "Hey, Paul, we have to wrap it up. And we have other people." And Paul just kept going like, no, it's okay. He just kept sending them away. And every time
Sorry.
he did, I was just like, yes, it was cool. And
That's awesome.
and I was just like, I had enough wine because we went to dinner first with me and Louise and this DJ from Chicago named Timmer. She's like the Beatles DJ in Chicago.
Okay, okay, okay.
She's at all the Beatle events, and she's great. And she was uh, friends with Louise, so we all went to dinner before the show. And I just I had enough wine.
Yeah.
We went to this really nice Italian place in Chicago. We had a couple bottles of wine and then went to the show. So by the time I got there,
You're like,
no, I was kind of like, just thank God, because otherwise I would have just been like,
yeah, yeah.
humming,
Yeah.
humming. But I just wasn't. I don't know. Like I was pretty
You would have
got
been
lucky. No,
like Chris Farley.
right, no. And I got lucky a couple times right off the bat, and I made him laugh. And you see, he's thinking that he's going to. We got to his dressing room first, so he's thinking he's going back there to see George's sister, and he walks right into me, who I look like this,
Yeah.
So he could have been like, I don't know, call fucking security or something, or some Beatle weirdo, and he didn't. And he was just really cool. And luckily, I was with her, and she gave me this really nice introduction to him, and
Mm-hmm.
basically told him I was her new adopted baby brother or whatever. And that was literally the start of it. And like I said, I've met him a couple times since then. Never that cool again, where it was like that. A couple times later, she was like, "Oh, you remember my
Your
brother?"
good
And
friend,
he's
yeah.
like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I
whatever."
know, no, whatever.
But
Go on.
that first time was something really cool. It like never, I don't know, it's an experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then the band started after that, around that, and took
Well,
off as the
so,
Liverpool
so we
Legends.
were in this group for about a year after that, and it was like a local group that didn't travel much, and we wanted to put something together that was, you know, with Louise basically, that
Uh-huh.
something that she could be involved in and be proud of, give her something to do with her.
Sanctioned by, or the
She's had a pretty goofy life because she's George's sister,
sure.
and that's what she's known as. But she's always
Uh-huh.
kind of wanted to do something for herself. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's an odd thing because really none of the other Beatles had sisters. I mean, John
Yeah.
had a half sister, but Louise was the only, and they were so famous and so crazy famous that even their sister, it's a weird position to be in.
Of
Like
course.
just so, I experienced, Louise and I, that was, I mean, she's my longest relationship for a female. I mean, we've been together a long time, and I've been with her in so many situations where we literally like walk into Walmart or something,
Uh-huh.
and there's that mug that you have, and it's right there. And I'm thinking like, how weird that must
I
be
know.
to walk into Walmart and there's a mug
There's
of your
your brother.
brother, you know? It's bizarre. So it started out that we were friends and she wanted to do something with her life. And honestly, so we put this group together, and Kevin, who was my best friend, was going to do it with me. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty small world of people that are good at doing the Beatles. So we didn't really audition or anything. We knew like, let's get that guy and let's get that guy. And we were able to because we had a little bit of momentum, because within like the first week that we said we were going to put a group together, we got a little blurb in Rolling Stone. It was like because of Louis, it was just
Yeah.
so, and which was just kind of like a fluke. It really started out like she just wanted to help because she cared about me. And it started out like I started calling agents going like, hey, we've got this new band.
By the way.
It's a new Beatle group. And they're like, a Beatle group? We got one of those. This would be a secretary. And then they'd go like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, no, the agent's on the other line right now. Can we have him get back to you? So I was like literally getting nowhere. And
Wow.
then finally, like, I called Louise up and I said, hey, Lou, call this guy that I just called. Tell him you're our manager. Just say, hey,
Uh-huh.
this is George's sister. Tell him you're our manager. And see if you can get through. So she calls like the
That's
same guy. And then seriously, and she'd go like, the guy would go like, oh, the secretary would be like, oh, he's on the other line. And she would go like, oh, well, tell him I'm the sister of George Harrison and I have this really great new band. Or I imitate her better than George, by the way. And
I
so,
like the little.
and they would, no, and so like the secretary would be like, you'd hear like a pause and they'd go like, oh, I think he just got off the other line. Hold on a second, And so she got
Yeah.
through. And then that's how the whole thing sort of started. Like she never really managed us per se, but it was opening doors right off the bat.
Just,
And just from that, because of who she was opening up some things, and that's kind of how it started. And
uh-huh.
then we ended up we were just starting out, and we were playing every place we could play, every little bar and festival. And there was a guy, we were playing a casino in St. Louis, and there was a guy there from this town called Branson, Missouri, which is where I am now, who owned a theater.
Uh-huh.
And Branson is sort of like a town like Las Vegas where there was 100 shows going on. a whole bunch of theaters, and I had never even heard of it. But the guy was, I didn't even like the guy. He was kind of a jerk. But
By
we
the
didn't even
way,
get along. But he would tell me all about how great his theater was, and he also was kind of an asshole. And and we kind of left it like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And
whatever.
and then like a few weeks later, he called me and he said, hey, I fired my act. Can you? How many dates do you guys have open this summer?
Oh,
And I was like, we had just started the group.
we
You
have the
know,
whole
this
summer.
we started the group like in April, so I was like, we have a lot of open dates, you know. How much money you got?
Yeah.
And it turned into, you know, he sent like at the time he had Mel Tillis, he's a
Uh-huh.
famous country guy. He sent like Mel Tillis's bus. We literally, like, I gave him every open date I had for the next couple months because we were playing little sports bars and stuff in
Uh-huh.
Chicago at the time. And so he sent this big bus he was picking us up at this sports bar. Like, we had to go right from this little bar that we were playing to Branson the next day
To the
to do a
gig.
show. So literally this bus pulled up, and it was like literally like as big as the fucking bar that we're playing at. It was just like there was
Just
people that
bring the
were,
whole bar with us.
yeah, no, there was people that were watching the show going like, what the hell's going on?
Wow. Yeah.
And so we took this bus, we went to Branson, we did a few weeks of shows, and the guy ended up ripping us off,
Uh,
not paying us. But in that time, all these theater, you know, there's 50 theaters in Branson. There's just a bunch of
wow.
at the time it was kind of happening, and there's a lot of shows going on, and a lot of people started in that 3 weeks that we were there started to come see us play, and we were different than anything else there because it was a lot of country artists and stuff and magicians, and there was nothing
Were you
like
guys
us
already
there.
dressing up and doing through the whole?
Oh yeah, you know, yeah,
theater
yeah. We were doing
whole
a show.
production?
Yeah, although at that time we were still more like kind of like a band,
Uh-huh.
you know. So we there was a bunch of owners of theaters, and we made a little splash in the town because we were kind of different because there's a lot of country and Western artists and nothing like us at the time. And so
We got two kinds, country and western.
right, both types of music. So we started getting offers. You know, this guy ripped us off, and whatever. Actually, we got ripped off, but there was a guy involved in the mix that actually paid us because he wanted to be
Continue on.
involved. So he actually made it good,
At the end.
he did. And then that next year, a theater owner called me up and offered me a whole year and said like, hey, can you play March through December?
Like
And
residency.
I'm like, what? And so it was 5 shows a week. We call that our Hamburg. I don't know if you're familiar with the Beatles, but that's sort of where we learned, you know, you do 5 shows a week.
Sweat it
You're
out.
playing, and you start figuring out how to do it. When we went to Branson, we just were kind of like a band, and we were pretty good at playing Beatles songs. That's about it. And
What
then
was your staff like back then? We had a staff when you
we
guys.
didn't have a staff. It was us and the girlfriend of the guy who was playing Paul, who was literally like crazy.
And how do you always
she
find
was
a
like
left-
selling merch.
How
What's
do you always
that?
find a left-handed Paul?
Uh, well, it's funny. We've never had a left-handed Paul until
never had?
now. Until like the last 4 years, we've got this fella named Dave Tanner, who is the first actual true left-handed Paul. All the other Pauls switched from righty to lefty. So yeah,
Wow.
which is really hard to do.
That's-
And you know, in this business that we're in, you kind of have to do that if you want to do it right. You know,
Correct.
I'm sorry, my dog's getting jealous here. I'm gonna show him
That's
to
all
you.
right.
This is
That's
Buddy.
all right.
Can you see him? Wait, hold on.
Where is he?
That's Buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Buddy is 15, and I might have to feed him through this. I don't know.
That's
He's
okay.
kind of crying. But so
Give him a drink.
yeah, no, he doesn't drink. I lost my train of thought, but
The
what were
Paul-
we even
the Paul-
talking about?
the-
Oh yeah, so we've never really had one until the last 4 years, and it's noticeably different. Like the thing is Paul McCartney is a really damn good bass player. So like
Yeah.
even if you're left-handed, trying to do Paul is a challenge. But the guys that switch, in most of the top groups these days, a handful of them, the Paul guys have switched from righty to lefty, and to
Uh-huh.
me, it's a visual that you can't really ignore.
Yeah.
So we about 4 years ago found this guy named Dave Tanner who's lefty, and it kind of makes all the difference in the world. No matter what you do, if you're a right-handed guy playing lefty, there's
Uh-huh.
always something that isn't
Makes it.
exactly right, and it is what it is. The guys who do it are incredible for doing it. It's really hard to do. It's
Uh-huh.
play backwards, especially if you're
Yeah.
trying to do bass like Paul McCartney.
Mhm.
Like I'm left-handed playing righty. I'm actually
Uh-huh.
a lefty,
Oh,
but I can't take credit for it because I've always played guitar righty. So
okay.
I'm not. But the guys who have switched, it's a
Plus,
even
not so
our
much the switching because you can play left, but then do the whole show and act, and I'm sure it's like complicated just to get
you
everything
have to
going on. I
play
mean,
that stuff right, and you have to sing. I mean,
play the
and
part.
our drummer Greg here in Branson, he's a he's a left-handed drummer playing on a right-handed kit, so he could be like Ringo. So
Uh-huh.
those are all little just details that you kind
Nobody
of.
knows about. Yeah.
No, I mean, people know. People are pretty smart these days, but it makes it. It's just another piece that you can get closer to. Listen, nobody's as good as the Beatles. Nobody.
Correct.
But every little piece that you have that can get you a little bit closer is just what you try.
Much better.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lefty bass thing being like I've been a drummer my whole life, even though I played George in the show. So I'm
Uh-huh.
always listening to the bass and the drums, and in a lefty, it's just something different for sure. You know.
So you guys did the whole year almost at the theater playing.
We did. So we ended up doing a year at that theater. We call it our Hamburg days. I mean, it was not very lucrative. We were all living in a hotel for a
Wow.
year, right, like next to each other. It was a rough year,
I
and
bet.
but we got good. We learned how to do a show. We learned how to, we learned that sort of a show,
Put
besides
it
playing the
together.
music. Well, I mean, a show is kind of what happens between the songs, kind of. And so we learned how to do that, and we learned about lighting and production, and if you do a show every day, you kind of figure it out what works.
Hmm.
And then that next year, I got it. There was a guy at our show who was a multi-millionaire fellow who was a big Beatle fan, and he approached us and he was like, "Hey, got a bunch of clients in town. We were wondering if we can come to your sound check. I'd like to bring them there, and I'd be glad to pay you a couple $1,000 or something." And
Why not?
no, I was like, we don't really do sound checks. We don't.
Oh, wow. Okay,
But
well, let's do a
no, we
sound check.
don't.
Fuck
But I
it.
was like, for you, I'm like,
Let's set
tell
it
you
up.
what, I'm not going to charge you. Just come over. I want to meet the guy. So
Yeah.
he came. I didn't charge him. Hung out. Turned out he was a big Beatle fan. And we ended up, he was a construction guy. He was like, hey, I'm opening up a new construction office, and I'm thinking about having you guys do my grand opening.
Oh.
And
Was now Luis involved with just the whole process
oh
of
yeah,
this
yeah.
year?
No, Louise moved to Branson with us. Like Louise, like when
Oh,
we went to Branson, she picked up everything she had and got a place in Branson to be a part of that.
wow.
So yeah,
That's awesome. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
for
So
her.
we
I
ended.
mean, older person just to say, I'm gonna just go with it. Like you
Yeah,
said, she
yeah.
wanted to have her own
No, I
situation.
mean,
She wanted.
in the early days of it, like Louise was like helping us load the damn truck. Like she was
Wow.
really trying to be,
Tuning
honestly, she'd be
guitars and
like,
shit.
she'd be sewing our buttons on and stuff and whatever. It was an amazing time. And it was a rough time too because we weren't really making a lot of money back then. It was kind of
Uh-huh.
like we were playing our asses off every night and trying to get it going. And then anyway, so this guy, we ended up playing his grand opening. And I go there and it's a construction guy, so I'm thinking, I'm going to go meet this fellow, and he's probably going to be on a construction site, and I'm expecting a guy with a bunch of hard hats and stuff.
The helmet.
So, yeah, so I go to this guy's office, and it's like fucking James Bond. It's like the most high-tech. It turns out he builds these huge, Hilton hotels all over he's like in, Fortune 500 construction guy.
Wow.
And he was a big Beatle fan. So we became friends just by putting this show together for his grand opening. He flew us in a helicopter and all this stuff. It was really fun. And then, like, after it was over, I had a feeling that he was going to help us. Because at the time, we had just started, it was, like I said, we're living in a old hotel. We were living in hotel rooms that literally they had the old beds that you put a quarter in that would vibrate. It was like one of those hotels. And, which I kind of miss to this day. But anyway, at the end of all that, I knew we were going to have a conversation about something that he was going to help us. And it ended up like, he was like, well, we sat down and he was like, well, what can I do for you? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. You could buy a theater. You could buy a theater and put us in it. And I was kidding, and he went like, I've been talking to my friends about that, and I'm thinking maybe that is I think I might do that, So and that just evolved into, we bought a theater, which is a whole nother story. It was, at that time, it was so exciting. It was so like, we're going to have our own Beatle land. It was going to be like kind of like the Beatles love show where it's just whole Beatle world. And then, unfortunately, he got all his friends involved, and it turned into like not just him, who was this great investor. It turned into him and all his friends who had their own agendas, and it never really went into what I wanted it to be. And so we ended up doing that for a couple of years, and then we switched to another theater, and then we've been sort of on tour in Branson all this time. And now we're back at our very first. It's funny, we ended up going back to our very first theater, which was kind of like an old time. It holds about 700 people. It's got the most Beatle feel out of all the theaters that we've performed at. So we're back there now, or when we go back, that's where we will be. But right now we are on sort of a pause, I guess.
Yeah, and that's your residency permanent that you have going on when you're not on tour.
Right. So we play there during the week. Like, it's a kind of a cool little gig for us. So like the last couple of years, we'll play Monday through Thursday in Branson, and then hop on a plane or a truck and go do shows on the weekend, fly back home on Sunday, and then play Monday through Thursday. And then, so it's really busy. We're doing a lot of shows a year, but it's been a great balance of, we have this home, and it's great. Like, for me, the theater is like, I can get there in 5 minutes. So the show is over at 9:30. I'm home at 10. It's amazing, which is why we wanted to come to Branson in the first place. A place for people to come see us instead of us. But so it's a balance because, so we're this theater holds 700, but then we go on the road and sometimes play for 10,000. So it's a whole. It's almost like a whole different because
that's something that I really amazes me, that you guys pretty much toured all over the world, and then plus you're doing the job that the Beatles never really toured that much. They ended their touring career, and then but it wasn't like they were playing. They never played Chile. They never played Mexico City. They never played many places, and you guys are pretty.
Well, because they didn't
experience of seeing the seeing the Beatles live, because
in some ways that works to our favor that they didn't. Like, so they never played Mexico City. So the people in Mexico City, when we play there, it's emotional because they wanted that and they didn't get it. So they never got it. So I think that's what it is. Mexico City is very special. That's a place like I can't say enough what that feels like for us. Like, my whole life, you go to these big concerts. You go see like The Who, and you go,
Uh-huh.
or at least for me, and then you go and you look
Shit,
around
there's a
and you
lot
go
of
like,
people
gosh,
here.
I wonder what this would be like to play on that stage in front of these people. Mexico City's like that for us, where it's just like,
Hmm.
I know what that's like, and I'm thankful for that. And we just, it's turned into something very unique there. Like we are out drawing all the local Mexican national acts, It's just, it is what it
Uh-huh.
is. And a lot of it is their passion for the Beatles there. They, oddly enough, they've had a radio show there going, they do 2 hours a day, which
I
might
know
have
you told
just
me that,
ended,
it's
I think I
just
read, but they do 2 hours a day on the biggest station in Mexico of Beatles songs. That's like unheard of.
yeah,
2 hour Beatles show on the biggest station every day since like 1964. That's, I mean, even
crazy.
in the
Just
U.S. here, there's Beatles shows that it'll be like Breakfast with the Beatles on Sundays, which is great. I've
yeah, yeah,
been
yeah.
listening to that.
Or like
That's what
an
that lady Terry
NPR
Hemmert
sort of
does in
deal, or yeah,
Chicago.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now there's the Sirius
The
Beatles station, whatever.
serious, yeah, yeah.
But but for the most part, to think that in Mexico City there's a 2 hour show on the biggest radio station is that says that's why we go there and play a 10,000 seat arena and fill it for 2 nights. It's
I
crazy.
know.
It's so crazy. And then we come
Which
back to Branson and play
we kind
for
of stopped
a
working on
couple
that
hundred
project
people.
to go to Monterey as well, which we should get back hopefully when we start.
Yes, yes, we have to go back to
We
Monterey.
should,
Monterey was, and we've also
yes.
played some other, like we went to Chihuahua and did a big show. So, and there's other cities in Mexico too that, for whatever reason, the Beatles are, it's almost bigger there than anywhere. I don't know why, you know. Even when we come to South Texas for your shows,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, it's a bit like that because those are, it's a lot of people from Mexico. I mean, it is Mexico, sort of,
Yeah,
It's
very
right
much.
on the border. And, but those have been shows that, so we were supposed to play in May. We were supposed to do 2 shows in May. Then they got moved to September. Now, just a few, because of all this COVID
Uh-huh.
stuff, now they got moved again to like the December 12th. And then we're doing a Christmas show the end of November. It's all kind of like, but right now, we can't even go to Mexico. I don't think we can. You can't even fly there.
Exactly.
You'll have to sneak
You
us
can.
across
I
the
think you
border
can,
like in the back of your
that
truck.
there you go. There. There you go.
Maybe. No, I mean,
For those
there's such
Muppets there in
important
the back.
shows for us. They're so fun that I have to find a way to get there. And it literally
Yeah.
might be being an illegal sneaking the band in, or somehow. I don't know. Because
We'll
right now
figure
I
it
don't
out. Don't
think we can
worry.
go. Yeah. But I mean, it's
We'll figure it out.
approaching. It's funny. I talked to the promoter from Mexico City the other day, and we're making plans, and he moved the date because, we had already, that show that we were doing in May was almost sold out. So they have all these tickets sold, and they don't want to just say, oh, we're canceling the show. So they want to give the
Just
people an
postponing it.
opportunity
Yeah.
to see the show, and we have to figure out how to figure out how to get there is really the biggest issue. And right
Hmm.
now they're not having concerts there yet. Pretty much all the major
Gatherings,
touring acts have canceled in
pretty
Mexico
much.
City anyway.
Yeah.
So, but December, I don't
In
know.
the
I'm
U.S.,
just gonna,
some areas are going to have some kind of shows or
yeah,
some kind of a situation going on.
yeah. No, I mean Branson is opening. There's a lot of shows going on tonight here, and
Oh wow.
I'm waiting just a little bit. Like I don't know, it's a lot of responsibility. So here, it's our show. We're in charge, so we're
Yeah.
promoting our own show. There's nobody like hiring us. It's us. So, which
You have
means
more
we have to
control of
figure
that.
out, yeah, we have to figure out how to distance people and keep people safe. And I don't know that I can do that yet. I just don't know. So, like, we could be doing
Uh-huh.
a show tonight if we want to. The laws in Missouri, out of the entire planet right now, the laws in Missouri are saying we can do a show. We can do a show if we're ready to do a show. It's just, there's a lot of things we have to figure out. Things like, whatever, who's cleaning the microphones and
Yeah.
and singing in general they know that singing you push a lot of air. So just for us to protect our fans, I mean, it's a very intimate theater. People are really up close. So now it's
And
like,
you can put like a plexiglass on.
yeah, I mean, and to sing Beatles songs, you can, and we might. But I mean, to sing Beatles songs, you know, unfortunately or unfortunately, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and even George, they pushed a lot of air when they sing. You know, you sing Twist and Shout, you're pushing a lot of air.
Shit.
It's not like it's
Correct.
different type of singing than maybe somebody who's singing On the Road Again. You're maybe
Yeah.
not pushing a lot of air singing Willie Nelson, but you're
Your
pushing
lungs
a
are not.
lot of air singing Twist and Shout. So much air that it's like ridiculous, you know?
Just a sec.
Plus, and I've seen all your fans. I mean, at shows on YouTube, how they go nuts. I mean, they literally go nuts. They love you. They want to take pictures. They want to get together.
Right now, people are like, oh, we're doing drive-in concerts and all this stuff.
Not
And I'm
have.
like, dude, that sounds so lame to me. Like playing for a bunch of people in their fucking cars.
We've
And we might do
had
it.
3 shows
We
here, and
might do it.
I
Right.
people are doing it, that way, and the people are going to the
Yeah,
shows.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
different way to put it,
It's
but it's like, I mean,
right.
I
And
wanna.
most likely, right. Most likely we will do that because we're even getting some bites on things like that to maybe do them. But it's like, as a performer, the whole part of going to a concert is gathering, you know?
Yeah.
The whole
Going to
part
the
is,
bar and just getting your drink
no,
and sitting
well, the
down, and
bar
then an
or
experience,
just,
and then just the whole getting together. I mean, that
no,
whole,
I mean, if you go to a concert, you want to be up front dancing
yeah,
and
I mean, the whole
singing
situation.
and
Yeah.
screaming. And so now, well, don't scream because that's not very good. And then
Yeah.
between
Or wear
us
your
screaming our
mask.
guts out and then the crowd screaming, the whole thing is the sort of camaraderie about being together. That's, for me anyway, that's what performing is. A concert is, to me, I play so much better when people are right up against the stage. Like when we play theaters that have orchestra pits,
Yeah.
there's this sort of ditch between us and the crowd. I always fight to be able to get the people in the orchestra pit. And a lot of times they won't allow it. A lot of times there's a bunch of wires and stuff down there,
Yeah.
and they're just like, oh no, that's a big, we have
Sandbags and
security. They won't. But to me, if there's an orchestra pit in front, I don't play as good. It's just it's missing something, and that's just that. So
Yeah.
I'm just imagining playing for people that are in their cars. It's just different when you got like 1,000 people pressed up against the stage that are singing as loud as you. Like when we go to play in Mexico, the crowd is singing louder than us, and you can hear them. It's crazy. Like for us, performing wise, the experience of it is that, so it's a lot to be figured out how to make that kind of thing happen, and like,
And then,
so for the,
health concerns, maybe you cannot be able now to take to those bigger shows. Like you can't maybe not take Louise with you because, it's a little
yeah,
different
well, Lou's not
situation.
coming. She's not coming to shows anymore because Lou's about to turn 88, and
Wow.
she's doing great and fantastic for 88. I mean, yeah, if I make it to 78, I'm happy. Or 68, I'm happy. But she's doing great, but she's not really touring anyway with us, and it's just too hard to try. And, everything becomes sort of an issue now. Like, how do we get to where we're going? Do we fly? To me, I feel like I'm going to get a bus and drive everywhere because I don't, the last flight we took was, we played, the last tour we did was Ukraine.
I know, I saw that.
So when this whole thing started, we were all in the Ukraine. And at the time, the last week of February, and it was just sort of starting, there was like 3,500 people that had died at the time from COVID. And so none of
Wow.
us were really worried about, the only thing we were worried about on tour was that if we had a cold or something, we had to fly, like we had to connect in Turkey, and we had to fly, you know, and we're thinking like, gosh, if we have any kind of fever, they might quarantine us. Because at the time
Yeah.
there was ships being quarantined. It was just starting. And, you know, at that time, none of us were really worried because we just thought, well, it's just affecting old people, and then, you know, we'll stay away from old people.
It's
We'll
not
be fine,
here. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. Right. But it turned out literally like a week later, 1 week later, it just turned into this. You know, we ended up,
It,
we had shows that next weekend and we canceled them, and it just, we've been sitting ever since for 3 months, you know. So, but flying is, that was quite a flight
have you
home.
guys plan on doing any quarantine show maybe just for fun? A little
Maybe,
bit, not so
maybe.
much with the whole
It's
production, but
so
just
we're
the whole.
unfortunately with us, we're pretty old school. Like
Uh-huh.
even when we record, like we're still using tape and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So so to get all four of us to even understand Zoom. I'm not speaking for myself because well, I mean, put it this way, this is my first Instagram live with you, and I'm only doing it
Live.
because you
Yeah,
asked.
yeah.
But we're not the most highest tech. We're old school. That's why I wear my hair like this. You know, we're so so maybe if we can figure it out, you know, hey, like Kevin, the guy who plays John, he doesn't even know how to FaceTime. You know,
Oh shit.
he's had a flip phone for
Oh.
all these years until the only way I can get him to get a phone was I gave him my iPhone. So now he can text. He has an iPhone, but the challenge of doing that is a little bit of a challenge. But I will say,
Yeah.
our the answer to that is yes. We are going to do it because we got actually offered a show. Uh, are you still with me, or did I lose you?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're here. You get
Sorry, I
a little
lost
bit
you
of
for
a
a second.
freeze.
So
Yeah, it froze a little
yeah,
bit.
so we are going to do it because we actually got offered a show from the client in Mexico City, who we're doing a corporate show, and I have to figure it out because it's a lot of money, and you know we're sitting at home, so we actually need the money. So
Of course.
we are going to do some kind of online private show for this corporation who's doing some event in August. So I literally have till August to figure this technology of how to do a show online from each other's homes,
Well,
you know, which there's a lot of people
maybe
doing.
you
It
get
can't be hard,
have in
you
your
know.
own theater do it.
Yeah, we
Run your own theater and just do it
could,
on
yeah, and
yourselves. Yeah.
maybe, but we're all in different states right now, you know. I think I
A little bit.
might be losing you. Is it you or me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're cutting
No,
out
yeah,
on me
yeah.
here a little
It
bit.
just it cuts off. Yeah, yeah. We're back.
Yeah,
We're back.
but so we aren't all in Branson. So I'm the only one who lives in Branson. So Kevin's in
Oh,
Chicago, John, our drummer's in Chicago, Dave's in Kansas City. So we're not even all here right now. So when we
complicated.
do it, it will probably be from our own homes, you know, maybe. I don't know. I have to figure it out by August. So we'll
Well, maybe
see.
you can send
But
us a link so we can, I can watch and
maybe,
say,
or we'll do something else, or I'll do something myself, or we'll figure it out. It's funny, like I will say that every night, instead of watching TV, I've been watching my friends play music and really
uh-huh.
entertained by it. I have a lot of friends who are that every night. That's kind of what they do. You know, they're solo guys who play a lot of. They're used to doing shows like that, and and bands that I love are doing it. You know,
Uh-huh.
too. So it's been. I find myself diving into that a little bit, like because there is a lot of that out there. So we probably should do something. You know, so the answer is yeah, we probably will. We just haven't yet. And a lot of it is me. Like this has been a little bit of a weird
It has
time,
been weird. It's
and
like they
it's
switch
got I
channels. The old channel used to go like this, and now it went from March to June, like they just went and switched, and we're stuck at home still. They just switched everything, and the year's almost halfway, and then it's
yeah, and
it's
it's been like I've been battling a little bit of like just kind of being sad and being depressed and worrying about the people that I love, it's just been a weird time, you know. So I haven't really been motivated to say like, hey, let's go do a show. When part of doing a show for me is it's about the audience. It's about feeling
Totally.
it, and it's just the online stuff on Zoom with like kind of what we're doing
Full
now.
frame. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not, it doesn't, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it for the people that are interested in us. It's
They
just
want to
we
see you.
haven't yet. And I've been watching, and some people are doing it, and they're trying to figure it out too. You know, the technicalities of it is kind of weird because like if you're in different places and you want to do it live, like you have to play with a track, and I hate fucking playing with tracks, you
Oh
know.
no, no.
And so, and if maybe there's a better way to do it, the little bits that I've been reading about it. My favorite is probably Jimmy Fallon doing it with like his Roots group
I
where
know.
they're just, but I think they're playing with a track too. Uh,
I'm sure they're bringing the track. I
yeah,
mean, unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is happening with lots of shows that you see. You know, bands are playing with tracks. I mean,
yeah,
even now more so. You know, probably.
yeah. But people are getting
But
better.
you know,
Like you can hear, like even like on Jimmy Fallon's show, people are starting to sound really good. Like they're starting to figure out how
so
to
fucking
make
crisp.
their, yeah, they're starting to figure out how to EQ and put some effects on their vocals. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
I think I might be
Marty,
losing you
thank you
again.
so
I'm not
much
sure.
for
Hey,
spending
cheers,
this time with
everyone.
us. No,
Cheers,
yeah, we're
cheers,
here.
cheers. Yeah, here, here, George. Yeah, that's right.
I will find a way to get you one of these
I
mugs.
think you need a
Thanks.
little.
If
You need
anyone's,
to increase your Wi-Fi.
yeah. Or my glass.
Right.
If they want to
Yeah.
join you
Virtual concert. Yeah.
on social media, or they can find you, they want to book you once you guys get back. Where can they find you? Where can they
You just look up
get
Liverpool
to you?
Legends. We're pretty easy to find,
Pretty open.
and or you call me directly if you're Kate or whoever is on now. But
Yeah,
uh, yeah, we're pretty easy to find, and
well,
you
hopefully
know,
we'll get to see you
I
time
do
soon.
believe this is, yeah, this is all, I really do believe this is all just temporary, and however long it takes, there will be a time when we go full out and do what we do, you know, and
Yeah,
in the meantime, I just, you know, want to sort of figure it out before we make the decision to start touring again, because it's just, for me, it's a lot of responsibility, you know,
of
and
course.
it's not only because I run the group, so it's not just me personally, but I feel like I gotta figure out how to make sure the band's safe and we're all good, and
Staff
then
is
the
safe and
audience,
everything is.
because we're,
Yeah,
yeah, and then the production people, and even in Branson, like I have to worry about the ushers and the box office people and all the concessions, and you know there's a lot
interactions
of,
and
you know, the people that do the you know, are the ushers. They didn't really sign up to being like frontline workers, you know,
hmm
even though they're ready to do it, you know, but it's still, even at that, I feel like, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. And I feel like, you know, if I was personally going to a show, I mean, I don't want to sit in the theater and with a mask on, and but I think if we do it, I would probably ask people to put masks on. You know, I'd probably give them Liverpool Legends masks that with like a big, you know, you know, Union Jacks on. You know, I probably would, because if you're going to sit in somewhere for a few hours,
be
maybe
so
it'll help.
close.
That's
So
all.
yeah,
And that's it. And there, you know, there's so many people against that whole world. And for me, if we do it, I would probably require it, give everyone a mask, you know, because
yeah,
you just
something.
don't know who's sitting next to you, and you have to think about the ventilation you, and just a lot of things, I think, which I want to make sure I know what I'm doing before we open our show. That's all, you know. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, Instagram Live is giving us 1 minute, so appreciate it again. And
Oh, they
just
have time
one on
limits. I
one.
didn't know that. All right. Well, cool.
It's an
All right,
hour, so
man.
we've been in here now talking, which is great. I
An
appreciate it.
hour. Time
A lot of
flies
stuff.
when you're having fun. So hopefully we will
Yeah,
be at Taco
yeah.
Palenque soon. And
Very
Get
soon.
the I don't remember what I get there. Like, is it barbacoa or
Well, we
something?
had
I don't know
salmon
what
last
it.
time. We had salmon last time. we're,
Yeah,
we're going
that place
healthy.
is that place rocks. And you and James and everyone down in South Texas, man, you guys have been supporting us for so long. So thank you. And